Good morning. Today is Thursday, February the 11th, 2021. Notice is hereby given that a special meeting of Commissioners Court of Grimes County, Texas will be held on this date at this time. We're at 114 West Buffington Avenue in Anderson, Texas. Agenda item number 1, this meeting has indeed been called to order. Agenda item number 2 is a consent agenda item. And consider and take action to approve the following budget amendments and line item transfers. And after talking with the auditor on all of those transfers, effectively it's moving monies from the sheriff's office or in the law enforcement from particular line items over to effectively maintenance and repairs, and also the septic system at the law enforcement center. And the total of the line item transfers from one area to the next is $242,349.02. Jesse, do you have anything that you want to add other than the paperwork we have in front of us?
No, that wasn't the only line item transfer. There's various ones on there, but that is one of them.
Right, that was the big one, the one we had discussion on, correct?
Yes, sir.
Any questions or concerns on those, commissioners? If not, is there a motion?
Judge, if there's no other questions, I'd make a motion to approve consent agenda item number 2.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 2 by Commissioner Phil Cox, seconded by Commissioner Chad Mallett. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Let the record note that Commissioner Dobianski is not present. We will now go to agenda item number 3, discuss and take action to file an amicus brief in support of the petitioner in cause number 20-0393, James Frederick Miles versus Texas Central Railroad and Infrastructure, Inc., and Integrated Texas Logistics, Inc., in the Supreme Court of Texas, attachment number 2. The court may conduct a closed session or executive session regarding this item as authorized by section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, consultation with attorney. If you look at the attachment number 2, commissioners, it is in draft form because it has not been approved by this court. It has been approved by other courts that are participating in the other courts. And the reason this is in front of you is there are 10 counties that are in the high-speed rail line. The top one, Dallas, and the bottom one, Harris, are not participating with us, but the 8 internal counties have all been asked to consider filing this amicus brief, and my understanding amicus means friend of the court, and it just shows are you impressed?
I am impressed.
Thank you. It just shows that we are in supportive of this case, and our attorney group with Texans Against High-Speed Rail has asked for our participation, if the court is willing, along with school districts along the route, along with cities along the route. And I can't speak for the school districts, I cannot speak for the cities, although I believe Anderson is participating in this, but I can speak that with knowledge that I know the other 8 counties along this route are participating. So, Mr. Foltz, is there any additional information you'd like to share with the commissioners as they decide on this?
Sure, and if there is a member of the court that wants to go into closed session and talk about this further, we certainly can, but what I have to say doesn't necessarily need to take place in closed session. I think the judge got it right, but a little bit of background. This is James Frederick Miles, who's a petitioner, a landowner, versus TCR, this other entity. As you all may recall, this case was heard at the trial level. Mr. Miles, as I understand it, was successful in the trial court, but that was overturned in the Court of Appeals. So the matter is now pending before the Supreme Court. There is a practice where if you have an interest or you want to offer your support to a party, you can do it. And some people call it amicus, some people call it amicus. Doesn't really matter. But you have the opportunity to do a brief in support of one party or the other. As the judge indicated, my understanding is the brief that we'll be a party to will include Waller County, Madison County, Leon County, Ellis County, Freestone County, Limestone County, and Navarro County. Because essentially this will be submitted by my office at your direction, I think we're asking today that you determine whether you want to direct me to participate in this. There was a draft of a document that you all received. It was an attachment to an email. It was the amicus or amicus brief of some other entity. I don't know if you all saw that on the face of it. It didn't say brief of Grimes County, Waller County, Madison County. I don't know what you have in front of you today, but just rest assured, we're not participating in filing a brief on behalf of some other entity. It's on behalf of Grimes County. And I'm happy to do that at your direction.
And it's my understanding there's no cost other than the time we spend talking about it, but no attorney fees or things of that sort.
There's no free lunch, Judge, but I believe that's right.
Okay.
Can you clarify that is Texas Supreme Court, not the United States?
Correct. You're right.
And this is in support of the petitioner?
It's in support of the landowner, correct? Yes, ma'am, who is the petitioner in the Supreme Court.
In the original case, Commissioner, was that Texas Central was going in with the idea that they had eminent domain, and Mr. Miles said, no, you don't, and he fought that. And as Mr. Foltz said, he won at the district level, overturned at the appeals level, so therefore we've gone to the Texas Supreme Court, or he has.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to allow Mr. Foltz to take action to file an amicus brief in support of the petitioner in the cause number 20-0393, James Frederick Miles versus Texas Central Railroad and Infrastructure, Inc., and Integrated Texas Logistics, Inc., in the Supreme Court of Texas. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 3 by County Judge Joe Faust, seconded by Commissioner Philip Cox. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Mr. Foltz, is there anything we need to do, or you'll take it from here?
I'll take it from here.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
With that, agenda item number 4 would be the opportunity for us to have a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Mallett to adjourn. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. We're adjourned. Commissioners, as you're aware, we also have a notice of a workshop meeting of Commissioners Court of Grimes County. Notice is hereby given that would occur immediately after the special meeting that was just opened and adjourned. Would you like any time before we move into the workshop?
I do have a request, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Received an email from the project manager, Mr. Peeler, that he would not be able to make it today. And I think his attendance is vital to this discussion. So I would say we would adjourn and schedule a meeting at such time that he could be present.
Okay, I hear what you say. Any other thoughts or comments?
I do agree with that, and it gives us time to review the information that's been provided today, which is quite lengthy. I just feel like if the project manager was here, we get more feedback from him that we may need today to discuss. So,
I would like to take a few minutes, we don't need to take a lot of time, but I would like to take a few minutes just to review some of the things that we do know, some of the things that maybe are really important for Mr. Peeler's input. Mr. Cox, I understand what you're saying because he is our project manager. However, we do have both of our building committee representatives here, and I think you gentlemen can shed some light on some of the activities that are going on. Maybe we don't need to have a lengthy workshop, but I'd like to at least share a couple of thoughts with you, field any questions that might come from yourselves, and also give Jessie Murphy an opportunity to at least introduce the information that she's prepared so that as we're reviewing it, we have a pretty good idea of what's before us.
Judge, I didn't hear you call the meeting to order. I think you asked if anybody wanted a break. I'd ask that you call it to order, and if
All
there's
right.
a motion to adjourn, then so be it.
All right. I'm calling the workshop meeting of Commissioners Court, Grimes County, to order. It is a special meeting of the Grimes County Court. We are at 114 West Buffington Avenue. Agenda item number 1 is calling the meeting to order. Number 2, discuss and review the new Grimes County Justice and Business Center needs, including but not limited to furniture request, driveway, and maintenance and storage. Commissioner Cox, I'd ask you to repeat your concerns.
Yes, sir. I believe that we probably should adjourn. Actually, I'd make the motion to adjourn because this is a discussion that I firmly believe that we need the input from the project manager, who has sent me an email that he won't be able to attend this morning due to a pre-scheduled appointment. If you recall, the original meeting was set for February the 10th and changed because of a conflict in your schedule, and he already had his schedule arranged to make that meeting. So I would make the motion to adjourn until such time as we can arrange all participants of the court as well as the project manager be present.
Okay. Is there a second?
I agree with Commissioner Cox, but I think that we can probably have at least a little discussion about maybe some of this information we have to kind of, so we can process it further and then discuss it in more detail with Mr. Peeler. This is a lot of information that we've kind of, I digested most of what he sent, and then, it wouldn't hurt to get some explanations maybe and some insight before we maybe adjourn, but like the judge said, I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this, but it wouldn't hurt to kind of get a grasp of some of this information and kind of an idea of what it represents. So in case we need some more information even to help make us a decision when we actually meet with the project supervisor, that we can come to a better understanding.
you received information?
Well, this information that we've just now got, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Now, the other stuff was what Mr. Peeler gave to us last Wednesday. I did look at a lot of that, but, I mean, there's still a lot of information. I think we should probably, maybe kind of run through this, or at least get some brief explanations, or try to read a little bit into this, in case of people here that haven't put it together for us, we have questions for, before we maybe take it back and then come back with Mr. Peeler to help us make a decision on this. But I do agree we need another meeting.
Sure. So I take it that's not a second on Mr. Cox's motion?
No, not yet.
Then motion fails for a second. Jesse, would you like to please share with us the fairly intricate and furniture request, kind of advise what we have in front of us, please?
Judge, it's not an absolute requirement, but would you read number 2 before we move into that?
Oh, okay. Discuss and review the new Grimes County Justice and Business Center needs, including but not limited to furniture request, driveway, maintenance, and storage building. Okay, thank you. And this has to deal with furniture, is that correct, Jesse?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So you have 2 packets in front of you, one is colored and one is not. The one that is not colored, it is everyone's request individually. So you're able to see, if you look up at the top above total cost, you're able to see the total cost of that department's request. We just had it broken down. It's easier to see in this manner, for myself at least, versus looking at the request and adding everything up. So this just gives you a breakdown of their request. But mind you, if they put a specific color, that's not on here. It was just basically the chairs, the desks, the crescentas, and the price and quantity. And the colored one that was prepared, it tells you up at the top, the blue ones are, we had RCI, the company, come out and do an inventory check for every department. So the blue is all of the furniture that was recorded by RCI. The red is the furniture request from the departments. And the green, I was asked the green is the purchases that were made, furniture purchases that were made in fiscal year 19 and 20. So you're able to see. It's broken down by department as well, but it's cumulative all the way down, so. If you have any questions in regards to that, we did put in, Jennifer did place in there the room that it was specific for. So for instance, if you go down to HR, there's a desk and hutch in green. Well, that person was not specified, but that is for the reception area. And in the blue is going to be, let's see, the green is the desk and hutch was purchased. And then the blue is the desks that are already there. And so the red is her request. She's the first one on the list, that's why we went with
Yeah.
that. So it tells you which room she's requesting the bookshelf for, the storage room, and so forth.
do you have in here, do you have at the end of the day, what is the total amount for furniture that's being requested and priced out that would be an additional cost?
I do, however, it's not printed out, but I can have that printed. It's not currently printed out, but I can get that for you. Yes.
Can you give me an idea?
I did it by department, so, and that was last week.
Okay.
Um,
Because I think our budget number is what, 400 and,
Yes. I believe it was-
411,000.
Yes, and Jennifer had prepared, and then we printed out in order by department. I want to say it was around 150,000 for the request. That was prior to receiving the district judges, and we just received that last week, I
And
believe.
theirs was what, 13, 14,
Mhm.
14,000?
Well, it's in here.
Okay.
We don't have a budget number. We took that out of the bid. The 400,000 is what PGAL said they could furnish the building for.
Correct. But
But we don't have that budgeted.
that's not correct, I don't believe. I mean, that's
It's-
part of the 10.455
It's out,
million.
the,
I don't think so. I think
Part of the development.
he's correct.
That might be in consideration. It's not
Because
part
the,
of
the contract with Collier
it
is
was it
10
did a
point-
10.44, and then the total was a 12 million,
Mhm.
I believe.
And that
that
included other things as well.
It did, it included the driveway, it included multiple things, yes.
Okay, that's a clarification that we need to determine that the 400,000.
Okay.
Commissioner Cox, you say it's not in the 10.4.
That is what I'm saying.
Do you concur with that, Commissioner Mallett?
There's
It's
two
been
hundred and
too-
fifty, there was 250,000.
We pulled that out of the, I mean, that was an estimate based on what the architect said we could probably furnish it for. But I don't think we always pulled that out of the bid even, because we didn't want to bid on
Right.
furniture.
Right.
We were, we wanted to make sure, we had furniture that was capable of being moved and in good shape. We would try to utilize as much of that furniture.
It was part of the 12 million. It was
Okay.
not part of
Yeah.
the 10.
Okay, we set at 12 million and we were gonna.
And then I guess what we did is we allocated from that 12 million,
But there wasn't a
411,000 in the
set
beginning.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Because that's
that
what
was-
PGI, okay.
Yeah.
Project costs not included were office furniture, furnishings and equipment, moving expenses, moving expense for the high-density files, and the IT-related items.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So you're right, Commissioner Cox. It is a part of the 12 million, but it's not a part of the 10-4.
Yeah, we didn't set a specific price because we were gonna analyze and see exactly
Gotcha.
what we could get by with on our, with decent furniture. We didn't know,
that
without
correct?
having an inventory, we couldn't set a set price.
Right.
I have a question, and I want to clarify it, since the county clerk is sitting here. Like, on page 2 of the colorful chart you gave us, when I refer to the list that I got from what Al gave us the other day in court, and to this list, on the green, the leather executive office chair, black, it costs $96.
That doesn't look right.
That would have been from our general,
That's- Oh, that was a chair.
so it was probably a leather chair that you purchased back in, it would have been purchased
Oh,
in
that's-
2019 or
okay.
2020.
So the
Yeah.
green, can
The
you?
green is what's already been purchased.
Yes.
So the green is what's already been purchased?
Yes. Yes.
So what is the request color again?
It's the
Red.
blue, no, it's the blue. Yes, the red, I apologize. It's the red. So it's on page 3.
Two.
No, I see it.
And
Mhm.
you're
It's in
able
red.
to see just her request on this sheet,
Mhm.
if you just need that particular.
Okay.
So I believe you are requesting it here, right?
Yes, I am requesting.
Yes, are any of these like replacing furniture, or are these additional furniture that's needed, I guess, too? Is there a way to
Yeah.
distinguish between that?
This is,
That some that's
I'm
not
only,
gonna
re-
make the move?
yeah, it's replacing, yeah.
And
Replacing.
I guess the condition of those is needs,
Mhm.
that actually needs to be replaced.
Yes.
It's not
Yes.
movable.
And we're not, I mean, we have a lot of built-ins in our office, so really, we only
Okay,
have
so those are
3
built-ins, so
offices
those are
that
true
require
things.
furniture, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Were, on some of the requests that I saw last week that I went through, there were no numbers. So the
So-
numbers that you have now, you
We-
reached out and gotten numbers?
So what we did on those particular numbers is we found either similar items from other departments, and we just did a little bit of research and digging on that. And you'll be able to see on the non-colored sheets, the ones that are faintly highlighted are the ones that we have, that we looked at online, or maybe took from another department if it was a similar requested item, we took that amount. Because there were some that did not have any amounts beside it.
If it's possible, prior to another meeting, or if it's helpful, don't you think each department need to see their department request according to your?
But it was just a copy of their actual request, but yes ma'am, we can send it out to them. All it was their request, that's it.
But you got the numbers from where they were gonna purchase it from?
No, they did not have where they were gonna purchase it from. Some of them did not have that. Some of them just put that they needed a certain chair or a certain, and we would just look that up.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't, the vendor because people are putting which vendor they want to attend, that's not how I perceive it's gonna work at all. I perceive that we're gonna go out and we're gonna find someone on buy board and purchase the furniture.
Well, I think the reason they use vendors is because they had catalogs or reference things online and said,
Right, it just
this
gave them a
this looks
baseline.
like what I want, this how much does it cost,
Yes.
this how much it costs, and so forth.
Yes, and just
Okay.
give a baseline for it.
Sure.
So, the one thing we were unable to do is verify that this furniture that they currently have, if they're replacing it, that's not where we come in. We don't come in and say, oh, this is still usable. That's a decision for Commissioners Court to
Right.
figure out, does it need to
Right.
be replaced?
And one of the things that might be helpful, I'd ask Al how he might process this better for us, or maybe just me to wrap my mind around it. And if you notice at your place, there's a packet that has each individual department on it, so that you might be able to better visualize where some of this furniture might go, and/or visualize where some of the furniture that we currently own already has. And he and Kat made the poster here, so if the department head or elected official would like to point out where they plan on putting the furniture that they have versus what they want, it might be easier for us to visualize that
Okay.
as well as them.
All right.
We may also want to consider the fact that if there's furniture we currently have that we're unable to use. I know our office we have 2 rolling shelves, and our storage room is not big enough for both of them. So we're only going to be able to utilize one. There's another office who may want that or may be able to use that instead of going and purchasing a brand new one. I mean, there's different options that we
Okay.
have.
All right.
I mentioned this before, and it's something that could be considered. And I think P-Gal sent us information. We talked about, we had a number from P-Gal on them purchasing the furniture versus going out. I don't know how we're gonna handle going to all these different vendors.
I
So
don't think we are.
that's something we're gonna have to consider. It's a lot of different vendors.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I think they just mainly got prices to get an estimate of what it
Yeah.
would be.
Right.
And then we can search on what would be the best actual place to purchase.
but
They
I
may
think-
not all be on buy board, and it's gonna go over 50,000.
What we need, this is just a suggestion, we need to determine what furniture it is that we're going to purchase,
Right.
and then figure out whether we're gonna go out for bid, or we're gonna assign somebody to look it up on buy board and make those transactions, probably better suited for the auditor's office.
Is that a motion?
No, that's not a motion.
Just a suggestion,
The only thing I
Jesse.
would point out is that when we were looking at furniture requests, I think that there may be some problems, like one vendor alone may not, just to point out the Commissioners Court, just from doing what we did for our office, there might be not a single vendor that can provide what is needed, so I just.
Totally agree.
Put that out there, because that's what we found looking, through catalogs, trying to prepare a list, is that there was no one single vendor that had.
Well, it's just like Al had done some research with Ergo for chairs, and the idea was, okay, it's a local, we could maybe buy them, they got lifetime warranty, they got parts and maintenance right there. But a lot of the other office equipment and features, they don't provide that, so you definitely have to go to another vendor on some of those issues. And some are not gonna have these rolling file cabinets and things of that sort, Diane.
Yeah, I have a question. In the shopping, I don't know how I want to ask this. Are y'all going to give us like a quality of furniture? Because are y'all gonna want us to purchase particle board desks or wood desks only? Because there's a big difference in price and quality, thank you. And, because we shopped with a beer pocketbook, not with a champagne pocketbook.
Understood.
And
And we hope most
You know.
everybody's done that. I don't know that they have.
I don't know what anybody's done except myself, but I'm just saying if, you know, cause of course your wood's gonna last way longer. And that's probably why some of our stuff has lasted. I mean, my desk, now that I have, came from A&M and I've had it 14 years. And, you know, I mean, it's pieced together because it's old and it's not the kind that your computer fits, you know, it's not suitable for today's use. But anyway, we need to know.
I can't answer for everybody, but I believe at the end of the day, the court's going to make the decision to spend the money to buy the best value that we can afford to spend. And if we can justify, hey, a little bit more for a wood desk versus a particle desk, then that's the right decision for us to make.
Because I know right now we have particle desks
Right.
and they don't last.
No, they
And
chip, they start to sag and so forth.
Well, and
understood.
we've had to, you know, make some, you know, they just don't last. But if that's what we're required to get, we'll get that, you know, with y'all knowing that the life of them is not gonna be the life of a wood one.
Jesse, I have a quick question. Did we add up all these departments to come up with a number?
It was approximately 150,000, I believe, if I'm not mistaken,
150
Yeah.
with what's in here,
with the request,
with the request?
yes.
Okay, because I know we were working with, started out, if I make no mistake, with 400,000. Is that correct?
411.
411. And we said that if we ran short of things for the building, that would be the item we would take it from. We would take it from furniture. So I guess at the end of the day, it's gonna depend on not to exceed, whatever's left, you know, in determining some of those factors, because, I don't know how many things that may have to come out of the 411,000. Do y'all have any ideas so far?
No, like I said, that's why we want to try to figure out some numbers so we can finalize, you know, where we need to go with it.
Well, I think we first need to ascertain what we have and what we're gonna buy.
Yep,
Because that's kind of, I mean,
that's basic.
the $400,000 is what PGAL presented, that they would furnish the entire building with brand new furnishings, and their quality may be more than our beer budget, as it was said over there. Not to say we want to get anything cheap, but I'm just saying they may be a little more enthusiastic about spending our money than we are. So I don't know, to answer your question. I mean, we've got kind of an estimate of what these requests are, but I can't see us spending or buying all that. Maybe we have to, but we need to look at what we have first.
Well, even if we bought all of what's been requested to this point, we're about 250,000 to the good of what we allocated in the original 12 million. And I'm not saying that we still need to spend 150 on what's been requested. I agree, we need to determine what we have and what's gonna move, and then what we need to fill in the blanks, and the quality of that would be determined by the monies available.
Can I make a quick announcement?
Sure.
Mr. Peeler just contacted me. He'll be here about 10 o'clock.
Oh, okay. All right, well, good. So do we want to set the,
I was gonna
Oh,
ask
I'm
the
sorry,
question
go ahead.
following that statement. Is that something the building committee is willing to do, to go to the departments to determine what stays, who's doing that?
I know the project manager was more than happy to let the building committee do that.
Well, I think at this point, this is something that the court needs to take
I
into
agree.
consideration. I mean, we've got the request, so now it's gonna be incumbent upon the court to decipher, okay, you requested 2 desks, but you have 2 desks, why can't you use the 2 desks? And, you know, justify those requests so that we can make a better decision.
Can I make a suggestion? If we're gonna do, which I think that's a good idea, but if we're gonna do that, can we do it so that like each agency has a time slot
You
to
bet.
do that.
Just
so-
like we do budgets, you bet.
Right, yeah. Because, and we will have, we don't have very many things that we're not reusing, but I think we have a couple items that one desk that was bought specifically for a very small spot in our office that is not big enough to utilize in another office. That was something to get by with, because one of my lawyers is in like a glorified closet, really. So there's things that maybe our office is not gonna utilize that maybe someone else might use, but most of what we're doing is reusing and then buying only what.
Sure.
But there are a couple items I know, and it's a solid wood desk, I believe.
Well, and we have our clerks who currently all have desks that are going in cubicles, so those desks, some of them will be available.
So that would probably be a good thing too, to have an inventory of stuff that's still
Available.
functional and available that can be transferred to another
Yes.
department that they can use.
Yes, definitely,
So-
We
because
get
their
that
desk
list.
is the same type of furniture, I believe, as what we have.
But
'Cause-
they're all solid wood, good quality desks.
We bought those at used places in Houston,
Right.
but they're still, I mean,
Right.
we didn't buy particle board, we bought used wood furniture, so.
Well, in the essence of department head and elected officials' time, Court, if you're in agreement, what we'll do is we'll table the furniture discussion for now. We'll schedule another workshop where we can then have scheduled times and each of those elected officials, department heads can come in one at a time. We can go through their inventory, what their needs are, and then put together
And we can
a
have
potential
when-
buy list.
I'm sorry to interrupt, when we come, we'll have a list of things that we are not planning to bring, so that the court could be aware of, if you would like, we could do that.
Sure.
Yeah, I think if we could have each department kind of come with stuff that they're, you know, like she mentioned, it may not fit in the other office, but it's available and in good shape to be utilized by other departments.
It would be nice too
If
if the
we could get a list from
measurements
everyone.
were available,
Yeah,
so
with the
that that
measurements and
way,
everything
you know,
like
the
that.
space
Yeah.
we're working with and if we can utilize that.
Yeah, that'd be perfect if we could get something
So,
like that.
so to be clear, you wanted
I would like
each,
that inventory potentially before our next meeting too, so we can, you know, kind of pass it around with everybody that, hey, we do have these desks available for other departments and then kind of go through that little pool and potentially be utilized by another department.
And I think this thing right here may be handy to y'all to, I mean, you can get a copy from Cat down in environmental to kind of highlight where you are putting the stuff that you have now, as opposed to where you might be needing new stuff on there.
I agree, because we could probably actually do a mock-up in two different colors, one with existing and one with what's been bought. So
And-
it's
and
simple
there-
for you to see.
there's a bigger copy too, you know, if you
Commissioner
have.
Cox, what was that you just held up?
It's this right here.
Oh, it's a copy
Yeah,
of that?
but you can get
Okay,
a
y'all got a
cat-
copy of that?
We do,
Okay, I don't, I'll
Yeah.
have to get one. Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
I still want to refer back to a question I had.
Okay.
So what I hear you saying, you're suggesting each of the 5 commissioners go to each department and determine, and then,
No, I think we can, I think if they, analyze what they have, make the list like Commissioner Mallett requests, and I think is a great idea. We look at the list that we have, and then they may utilize some form of something to show what they want new and where it's gonna go in their footprint, as opposed to what they already have and where that's gonna go in their footprint. It shouldn't take, it shouldn't be a long drawn out deal. It may not, it may cause some heartburn, but that's okay. We'll live.
Moving causes heartburn anyway.
Commissioner Cox, would you take the responsibility of drafting kind of informational sheet or instructional sheet of what the building committee and the commissioners court would want the department head and/or elected official to do, and present and have that available for when we get the next workshop scheduled, so we can go through that? Because what you said sounded like a pretty good order of things.
Sure, that would be fine. Do you want me to get that out to the department heads and elected officials before the next meeting or the day of?
Yeah.
Well, yes, because they need to get that information, so when they come in for their show and tell, we're in a position to say what they're gonna need, what they're gonna take, and what they're gonna leave.
I don't have a problem at all doing that.
Great, okay. Thank you. With that, we'll set the furniture discussion aside,
and thank you.
and thank you for those that showed up. sorry to not utilize your time a little more efficiently. I'll take the hit on that. The other two things that were on the agenda to be discussed during this workshop, when we get back. Okay. The driveway and then the maintenance storage. Commissioners, if you'll bear with me just a moment, and you don't have to write these down, I can make a copy of this after, but if you want to write it down. I have a whiteboard in my office and I've tried to keep track of the expenses. I tell you what, before I do that, Harry, I know you have an appointment that you need to make. Can you step up and update us to where you're at, because you were able to meet with TxDOT yesterday, I believe?
That's correct.
Okay.
On the,
And this is on the alternate drive, the Highway
on
90X.
the new access road, the design consultant has put plans together for the roadway itself, submitted them to TxDOT for permitting. TxDOT came back and said, well, we need to look at traffic situation here. You may need left turn lanes, you may need deceleration lanes, that kind of thing. I was able to meet with TxDOT's lead traffic engineer. They are looking at that themselves rather than the consultant doing it. It looks like they're probably only going to require left turn lanes for the northbound traffic turning into the new road. And we went out to the field, looked at roadway widths and the shoulders and everything. It may require only about a 4-foot widening to accomplish that in the section between 149 eastbound and the new access road, which is like 350 feet. So a short section, and then he did not feel like a deceleration lane for the southbound traffic on 90 was necessary. Visibility there is good because of the topography, so he felt like that wasn't a necessary step. So I think we've moved a long way into saving quite a bit of cost on this. The consultant fees, I think, are out the window at this point in time for at least the traffic portion of this. So I think we've made a lot of progress there. And it looks like, I don't have a number yet. He was still evaluating things, but I think that any actual improvements on Highway 90 would be fairly minimal cost-wise.
I don't know if they would get a left turn lane on the northbound traffic of 90 and have it for the 149 and for our entrance. That would really help on that school traffic in the morning.
Well, I took the opportunity to present him with basically a sketch with my wish list for
Yes, sir.
all along here, 149 east and westbound, and the new access road. And he said that the city of Anderson, or the town of Anderson, has asked them to do a traffic study and look at those issues. And the left turn for the school traffic going on 149 is one of the big issues.
Yes.
So they are already looking at
Good.
that.
Okay.
So he kind of laughed because he said, yeah, I've seen this sketch before. But yes, they recognize there are traffic issues there, and they have done a traffic study to do the traffic counts and things. And the one section leading up to 149 going westbound to the school, they're looking at about 7,000 vehicles per day. Pretty high traffic volume, which is no surprise to anybody here, but you go beyond that section, it drops down to about 4,500 cars. So significant difference in that one short section. And there is a lot of pavement width available in that section to do some work there, make some improvements. So I think there's a good chance that in the not too distant future, we'll see more of 90 restriped and reconfigured. So that's a positive.
Excellent. Thank you for that report.
So
Go ahead.
I guess my question is, how much money is the court willing to spend on this? Because it started off with an initial estimate of $226,000 roughly.
295.
You know, we started off with a 226 estimate, and they came back and said they couldn't build it for that it was 295, and that's
Okay.
what the court approved. But now we're up to over 400,000, and that's before all of the information that he just presented. And looking at some of the emails that I just recently received in the last few days, you talk about minimal cost for a left turn lane, they're saying probably 125,000.
Absolutely not.
You're gonna have 15,000, I'm just telling you
Probably-
the information, you don't have the information either.
What TxDOT's talking about at this point in time, the left turn lane, is probably $25,000 worth of paving work.
Okay,
I haven't seen the $400,000 estimate. I don't know what they're including in that.
well, that's the 295 for the initial cost, that's the $62,000 for the lights, that's the $20,000 for the water line to be relocated, and that's the $27,500 for the pole bases for the lights. All this other stuff we're talking about is in addition to that, and we're at 400,000 on that.
I understand that, but I have asked their engineers to provide an estimate for the work that they anticipate being needed on Highway 90, and we have not received that yet, so I can't give you a specific number there.
Well, okay, but the best estimate that we have from Jones and Carter at this point is $125,000 for a right turn lane, $125,000 for a left turn lane, $15,000 for civil engineering on Highway 90, $2,500 for a survey of Highway 90, and then we're talking about another issue with fiber optic. So, I mean, I'm not, this isn't your deal, this is the court's
Separate
deal.
issue.
I got you. This, none of that's your deal. I appreciate the information, but guess I'll direct my attention back to the court. How much money is the court willing to spend on this driveway? Because every time we meet, it adds on a few $1,000s.
Can you go back over those numbers again?
Sure.
Here, excuse me, do you have any more input that you want to share with the
Well,
information?
I'd just like to point out, from my meeting yesterday with TxDOT's lead traffic engineer, he does not believe a right turn lane is warranted,
Okay,
so those costs, whatever they are, would go away.
okay,
And my understanding from talking to him and some other conversations that happened, they are going to provide the engineering for the traffic work on Highway 90.
that's the impact analysis?
Yes.
But the,
And the design of the traffic reconfiguration. So those costs
So
go
we-
away. We
all right.
pay Jones Carter for that. Now,
so that leaves us at about 125 for the left turn lane, based on the information that we have in front of us
and
today.
I'm gonna say that's bad information.
Well, it's the only information we have.
I ran my own numbers, just if we were doing it in the way we do, like hot mix paving on Highway 302 or whatever.
Okay,
I came up, including the right turn lane at that time, about $40,000 in materials. So you figure double that for labor. So, yeah, 125 is extremely high.
that's okay. But I don't have any other, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but that's if we do it. I don't think we're gonna do that, are we?
Just a point of reference, because I couldn't get any numbers from Jones or Carter.
Okay. But, even if it is what you're saying, I don't dispute that. I'm just saying, how much money is the court willing to spend on this driveway? Before we say that it's not practical anymore.
Well, I think we need numbers for that, and then variations of numbers. Do we need all the lighting at one time? Do we need just the lighting at the intersection of 90? What's the cost? Because I think that included poles all the way up the street, drive, right? I believe.
Are y'all having lighting on the main entry on 149? Is that in the plans?
I don't recall seeing that.
I don't think so.
If Al was here, he could probably tell.
Because if we're not having lighting on that, then why would we have lighting on the alternate route?
That's what you requested, I think.
Or I,
Not I.
or it's required for instance, Highway 90 versus an FM road, maybe, I don't know. if that-
These, my understanding from talking to Al was that was designed that
PGAL.
PJL volunteered. I don't think anybody requested that.
Okay. So, I mean, are we going with it or not? I mean,
Well, that's what I mean, we can go and have it bid and then do portions of it, have that as an ad alternate, whether we want to or not, or, I mean, it's a safety, especially at an intersection. But, I mean, we don't necessarily have to include that in the road width, so.
I don't think it's that bad idea to have a light at the entry to both of those locations. But if you're gonna have like street lights every 50 or 75 foot, I don't know that that's necessary.
is there a figure that the court said we'll feel like we're not going over?
We haven't, well, Commissioner, the one figure that we said we don't wanna go over is the 12 million. Now granted, when we set that 12 million, we've had more than one surprise through this project pop up. It's kinda like somebody building a house, you know,
But we have not touched, we've operated on contingency fees that, in the contract thus far. And now, I mean, just a minute ago, you were talking about $400,000, but you start tapping into that 12 million. Remember, you still have to remodel this and move 4 or 5 apartments back into here
understood?
and buy furniture for this and do everything that's needed here. In addition to what you're saying, things might crop up out there. We started off at 226, approved 295, and now we're somewhere around $400,000 and questioning whether or not we should put lights. And there's gonna be other things like relocate the water line, I guess is the proper term. That's gotta be done. And we know we're gonna have issues with Highway 90 to probably have some sort of expense there. So, I mean, that's my concern is we start focusing, putting all this money over here, and over here is just not gonna have anything left to do. I think we stay the course if we can do it for 295 and maybe have to do some of these other things. I can understand that, but at this point, this road's approaching $500,000 and we hadn't even pushed a clod of dirt yet.
Well, I think, like I said, we can, once we know true numbers, we can make the decision on it. So we can, you know, have it out for bid and whether we approve it or not, or accept the bids, or and decide to do a portion of the bid or all the bid, or, and have different elements to it to figure out what our best decision would be. Because I mean, right now, these are just arbitrary numbers until we know what the actual cost would be.
Well,
It's kind of hard to make a decision.
Do we have any idea, Al? Sorry, I don't mean to drop this
Perry,
on you.
if you need to bail to make your appointment, feel free to.
Thank you.
Do we have any idea when we might get true numbers on this driveway?
You're gonna have to catch me up to speed, I don't even know what
You
you're talking about.
you won't know true numbers until you actually bid. There's no,
Okay,
yeah.
but we've already done that. We got the 295. That's where we got the 295.
That's what Collier said
That
that
was
they
an
could do.
estimate. That's
Yeah.
not an actual bid.
$295 is an estimate cost.
Okay, so when are we gonna go forward with finding out what the real numbers are?
You don't know the real numbers until you actually bid it.
Okay, when are we gonna do that?
We're not gonna bid it until after we find out what TxDOT reports are gonna come back and tell us what we need to do, what they're paying for, what we're paying for, what engineering design we have to pay for. It has to be lumped into that before we can get a true estimate number.
And I believe Harry just mentioned that the TxDOT will do all the engineering, and it may only require just a left turn for northbound traffic.
Okay, so.
Like a 4-foot widening of the road for that small.
Okay, so once we get
So-
that,
True number.
then I can get a true number for you. Once we get the TxDOT stuff back, knowing what they're gonna require, then I can go to Collier and say, this is what's required. I need a overall bid on completing this road.
Okay, You being the project manager, can you confirm, verify, or enlighten? We don't know specifics at this point, but just I want to make sure that I fully understand what's going on here. We got a $295,000 estimate to build the road,
Yes, sir.
$62,000 for lights,
Yes, sir.
$20,000 for relocating the water line,
Yes, sir.
22,000
$22,000.
for
Yes, sir.
relocating the water line, 27.5 for pole bases for the lights,
That's new to me. I haven't heard that
Say that
before.
again.
$27,500 for pole bases on the lights.
I believe it was mentioned, I don't know if that is I would have to check and see if it's in their bid for the 62,000.
Okay, I think I saw it somewhere, it's probably in this, but barring that,
Okay.
I mean, is it a fair guess that we're gonna need pole bases for the lights?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Is that number,
Seems fair to me.
okay. So that gives us about a $404,000 bill if those numbers hold true just for those particular issues. That's not counting the other Highway 90 stuff that Mr. Walker just went over, and that's not counting the fiber that was thrown around.
Yes, sir.
So we're in ballpark.
That's gonna be a ballpark figure. Minus or plus 10,000, I would, without the lane, without what we gotta do in the lane.
Without the lane?
That was 25,000.
With the lane,
The turning lane.
the turning lane.
Oh, the turning lane. I
Yeah,
got you.
yes, sir.
Okay.
So that's yes.
I asked a question to the two commissioners on the building committee. The entrance coming from the front of the building to 149,
Yes, sir.
does it have lights?
I'm not sure of that.
Okay.
I don't
think.
So-
think it does.
So again, okay, so again then, the 62,000 for the lights along the Highway 90 connection was a PGAL add-on.
Absolutely.
So if push came to shove, that's not a requirement that we need to do. The bases are not a requirement that we need to do. We do need to do the $22,000 expenditure for the water relocation. That's an absolute if we're going to put, I mean, even if we put a rock drive in there.
Any driveway that you're gonna put down that section of land.
Right.
Anderson Water Company has said that we have to drop, because we're going over an easement. So we have to drop it 4 foot, and they want it done. Why that cost is so high is Anderson Water Company wants it done on a weekend in the middle of the night, because they have to shut the water off to the whole community.
Right.
So any driveway that goes through there has to go over an easement. And that easement, we're at their mercy, because that's their main water line.
As far as the lights along the road, if the one proposed for 90 is not to match the ones going in off of 149, then I think that's an easy decision for us to scrub that. Plus, if there's another 27,000, is that the number you quoted, Commissioner, on the base or the?
Yeah.
So that's another, so that's 80, that's 89, that's right at $90,000. I can't testify to this, but I do believe that if you need a light on the entryway, you can contact the power company, and you do have to pay for the electricity, but they will put a light
That is
at
correct.
their expense for the entry, so,
You pay a monthly fee.
yeah, and you've got to be the landowner or the right, because I tried to put one at our county road, and I said, I'll pay for it. They said, no, you can't do it because you're not the landowner, so.
Absolutely.
And I understand that, because I'm not gonna make bright light calls for my neighbors. But, if that's the case, and we wanted a lighted entry, then we could talk to the power company. So we could knock the 62,000 off, which is a part of the 12. I never got the, I never heard that 27,000, but, I'm good with
Where
that.
did you get that, Commissioner, if you don't mind me
I
asking?
think I saw it in one of these emails here, I'll reference back to that, but I mean,
Okay.
you gotta have some sort of base to put the light on
Yeah,
anyway.
absolutely, and that's just me checking, checking if that was in the bid and they separated it out. I don't know, I will check on that, and I will check on the 149 lines.
So then that brings y'all down to 341,000 instead of 431,000. Including that 25,000 left turn.
What did you say the number is?
It would bring us down to 341,500, and that would include the left lane turn if it truly is 25,000.
You know, but at this point, we're not confirmed that we have to cover the cost on that because TxDOT didn't open their treasure chest, but they did say they would work with us on this project. So I think we need to capture a little bit more data from TxDOT because their engineer was just out yesterday with Harry.
Right. And I'm not being disrespectful to the court at all. I just think, I know how important this is to you guys, but I think we gotta let the due process of engineering and let me capture the numbers in an entirety. Before we improve, I'm not gonna approve any change orders on this. We have to come Wednesday, it's on the agenda for the 20,000.
And that's for the water.
That is for the
reroute.
water. If we're not gonna go forward with this, then forward with the road, then that would be a $20,000 cost that we can just forget about. But if we are going through with the road, then this is a $20,000 cost that we need to do, and we need to do it quick because I've spent most of the week getting that whole ordeal to the Justice Center, and we finally got that figured out yesterday. Now we're into the point where we gotta have water to supply the chiller so we can get our AC up and running before we put the wood in there, and we're in a critical moment. So that's something, that's a situation that if we can keep the cost down on this road, we need to go ahead and do it. Because if we just put water to the building and then you guys come back in a month and go, oh, we're gonna put the road in, well now that doubles our cost because we've already paid that once. Now we're gonna have to dig it up, redo everything, and then we can go across the easement. You got a puzzled look on your face, so ask me.
Yeah.
Oh, the water, so I guess if we bring in the water to the building, we would have to reroute it if we actually had to drop the water line for the road? Or no?
But yes, we do not have, just to get water to the building, we don't have to do anything.
Right.
To cross the easement for the driveway, we have to drop it down 4 foot.
But that can be done later, as long as we're tying in somewhere else. It'd still be the same tie-in, no matter whether we drop it or not?
No,
That would be
it's a
just-
totally different tie-in
Yeah.
if we had, because we're gonna come off the easement.
Okay.
It would make sense to make the water,
If we make our
Change
tie-in, yeah, if we
now.
can make our tie-in now separate, so if we can later on come in and decide to use the road.
And we can
Because I think we
bulldoze
need to
that.
probably actually have the bid before we decide to go forward with the road, so we have hard numbers,
So we,
not estimates.
yeah, we're gonna bullnose it anyhow.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, my concern was, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't seen the land swap deal. My thing, I thought we had to have a substantial completion with the building on this road. So that's we're gonna have to bullnose, once we do that water connection, we're gonna have to bullnose it right there, because we're not gonna obviously have the road going, but we're gonna bullnose it. Now, if, you guys say, hey, we're gonna do this at a later date, and you guys do your magic on, talking to the constituent involved, that's perfectly fine with how our stuff goes, but if there isn't a consideration in this road, we don't need to do this 20,000.
Yeah.
The consideration of this road and whatever the leadership chooses, is it later, we still have that connected.
You brought up a good point. I have not seen the contract that was finally approved on the land swap, so is it possible to get a copy of that?
I'll be happy to send the contract, but it's been merged into the deed, so you just need a copy of the deed. I'll be happy to get you those.
Okay, but there were terms in the contract that I was.
They were incorporated into the deed. correct.
Into the deed, okay.
Yeah, I'll be happy to do that.
Okay, thank you. I too had the same concerns because when you talked about the road, to me, we were looking at 295. And this amount has kind of grown.
Sure.
And my concern would be if we have we incurred any costs on 149 that we didn't anticipate in the beginning?
Yes. And that was a water flow issue. And that was, I believe, 5,000. It's in, I don't have a copy of my PMP with me because we're going into that meeting next week. I believe it was, yes, sir.
That's the latest one. I don't know if that was on the previous.
I mean, hold it over here for us.
What's the cord?
I might be able to.
If you can't read it, you shouldn't give it to us that small.
It's five, do you have your PMP, Commissioner? It's your last one, it's number 17, it's grading and storm revision.
Okay.
It's 5,960. And I can, thank you. So what that 5,960 is, Commissioner, is, as we started to make the swell on the east side of 149 connection, we uncovered, we uncovered the easement water lines. Well, Anderson Water Company come out there and said, wait, time out. So instead of adding additional cost of burying those and making a perfect swell, we got with Clint Caps and
Who's the landowner beside it?
who's the landowner beside us, and said, hey, we'll fill that pond up. And then we got with TxDOT and said, we need to make a bigger culvert at the end, 149 and ours, to be able to handle the water flow through there. TxDOT just gave us approval. We just filed for the 48-hour notice that we will start be working on that. That's the only cost that we have occurred on that.
Okay.
That was and the 149 connection was in the bid package.
I guess once we consider all the costs that involve, my question would still be back to, is this a need or a want? You know,
I
this
think it depends on who you ask.
additional road.
I put it out there, I think it's a need because we're going to congregate more traffic over in that area. And for us to work within the city of, the town of Anderson and all the traffic and our employees, I think it's going to be a safety issue that is going to be helpful. Right now, on 149, with our employees coming to work, with the elementary school, the junior high, the senior high, all of those folks, plus the buses that go through there, the 149 gets, and not for a long period of time, Commissioner, but for a period of time, that is a very congested area of in and out access. And it's just as much, and the reason I know is because I go through it every day. And it's not just an issue of turning onto 149 off of 90. It's also the issue of once you come back to Highway 90 to turn either north or south off of 149, that can be a very lengthy wait. And because it is a lengthy wait, I've seen more than a few people do stupid things pulling out in front of other cars, so.
Well, that brings my other question. Did we determine if this is a road built just for Grimes County to access,
It's a county road.
it's a
That was-
county
The
road?
determination was that it would be a county road versus a driveway. So the access on 149 is a driveway, access to 90, this court determined that it was a county road.
But it's not gonna be faster to go through the parking lot of the new Justice Center from 90 to 149 or 149 to 90. That won't be faster.
I'm just thinking, people will have that in mind.
Oh yeah, they cut through gas stations.
Did Harry say, I might not have recalled that correctly, did he say that they're already analyzing, like the town of Anderson?
That's correct. They're already taking a look at that.
So they may be putting a light right there already?
No, nobody has said light.
Oh,
I think
okay.
designated turns and.
Just designated.
They'll have turn lanes. And one of the issues is people traveling on 90 going north. That are going north, that when they come to 149 to turn into, or turn left onto 149,
Right.
then because they're waiting for southbound 90 traffic to come
Right.
through, the Shell station around the curve, we've had traffic back
Yes.
up to, again, not for 30 or 40 minutes at a time and not all day long, but in those high, it's like they said, the 7,500 traffic period and the 4,500 traffic period. When you get all of those at the same time, it becomes a real safety issue. So if we can get the turn lane, at least the northbound can bypass in their lane and get out of the way, and maybe some of the anxiousness will slow down.
Yeah, but I don't think
Police
that,
patrol.
I don't think that driveway is gonna alleviate the congestion back this far into town. I mean, you're still gonna have this congestion in town because those folks are turning to go to the school.
I disagree with the commissioner because it only might be 2 or 3 or 4 that are trying to make that turn on to 149. But by the time those 2 or 3 or 4 make that left-hand turn, you now have 25 to 40 cars stacked up behind them. If they're talking about getting a passing lane, a thoroughfare where we get a left turn lane, then those cars that are stacked up, they'll be able to continue to their northbound journey.
Okay, I see that.
So
Well,
if I can respond to Al's question, the deed as it stands now, say, begin construction within 12 months plus weather days, and the contract was signed on July the 20th. Substantial completion is to be before or with the new facility.
So we don't, thank you. So we don't have a big,
Window.
window.
But at the end of the day, if we don't build this road, the properties revert back to the original owners.
Right.
So we're not losing any property.
And that count starts from July.
Ma'am,
That count, 12-month count, it starts from July.
from July when we signed the contract, correct?
I'm
To
sorry.
start, the 12-month period started from July when we started.
Correct. But that was to begin construction, it wasn't to complete. It's supposed to be substantial completion before or with the new facility.
Well, I think it's up to the court. We need to figure out how to get it done. And I think we can do that.
Yeah, take it to the bid phase, we'll know the solid and the hard numbers, and then we can make a decision from there.
But in the meantime, you're already gonna spend $20,000, because you're bringing that back before court next week.
I think that's a smart spend. Because if we spend it now, it's gonna save us, if we spend that and we don't do anything for the time being, it's going to save us long-term, how much we'd have to spend to come back and redo.
If we decide not to build a road, that's not a smart spend, we just threw $20,000 away.
And you lose the land, I mean, it reverts back to its owners.
Yeah, I think we need to wait until we actually have solid numbers from that one.
Right.
Can't.
Yeah.
No, you gotta make a decision because if we don't make a decision on this 20,000 on Wednesday, we're holding up progress to get makeup water to the chiller and your building won't have any AC. So we've spent all this time on power to get power to it, but we can't cool the wood, we can't heat, we can heat,
So
but we
the
can't.
tap is gonna be where the water line's gonna have to be lowered? Is that what you're
Is the
saying?
easement.
Yeah.
If we don't do this road, then we won't even need to bother that easement, we'll go right into our tap.
And your
Or
concern
can we
is,
move the tap to where if we needed to come in and lower the water line for the roads, we can come in and do it later without disturbing the, meter for the building?
Where you're going, Commissioner, you're going two different directions.
Uh-huh.
Either we come this way to come across the easement, or we go back to our original with no cost to us and come back from the front.
Oh, you're talking about, so our tap, if we build our tap low enough the
There,
first time,
no, we're not even bothering the easement. If we don't build this road, we're coming off the front. We won't even have to drop no water, no nothing.
uh-huh,
We're coming from a different tap. We're not even touching the easement.
okay.
Coming from 149.
Coming from 149. If we go and build this, we have to come the easement part.
we'd have to drop it later.
So we
Yeah,
have
because
to,
we're on the easement then.
Right.
Does that make sense to you? Or am I just,
yeah, well, I guess I'm
Right.
just wondering why we have to either or. We can't still pull our tap from one end and then still lower the water for the roadway if we need to later.
we can later, if that's what you choose.
Yeah, without
But-
disturbing our, that's what I said, if we could build our tap to where we don't have to worry about, relocating our tap to lower the water lines.
No. So, we have no water now. We're
Yeah.
not building the road. We're coming from 149.
Okay.
Boom.
Can we
Tap
not
in.
come from 149 and then lower and bring our road later?
Yes, but it's just extra cost. So you'll have a tap coming here, and then you say, okay, I wanna build the road.
Uh-huh.
So we gotta take this tap off. Cause Anderson ain't gonna let us keep two taps in the same
Well, that's what I
joint.
mean, why do we have to have another tap from a different water line if we're not?
Is it the same water line?
There's two different water lines that we're tapping off of, right?
No.
Depending on which scenario
It's-
we go with?
So either if we go with the road,
Uh-huh,
you have an easement.
uh-huh.
No matter what, we're gonna have to drop it.
Yeah,
Okay, when that road goes in, that has to be dropped, no matter what, and that's cost us because we're
yeah,
asking.
yeah.
So while we're in that, we're just gonna go from that, where we're at, to our water, connection,
Uh-huh.
cause it's a shorter distance.
Okay. Well, I mean, we've already budgeted to the connection from 149.
That's right, correct.
So there's no way that we can keep that and then just lower the water line and not have to worry about reattaching. I guess that's where I'm confused, is why we can't just keep our tap from 149 and then, but just lower the water line on a completely separate note, so for access to the roadway. I mean, that's.
Okay, I guess my question is, why would you wanna do that? You're not saving anything.
Well, we're not sure if we're gonna do that expense yet. That's what I mean. If we don't wanna do the road,
That's a question I can ask.
yeah.
That you
If we
wanna,
don't wanna do the road, make sure that maybe if we have to adjust it, lower it, if we do put the road in later, that we just keep the tap from where we're gonna tap, and then, yeah, it will be a shorter tap, would be less water line,
But you're gonna have,
But we don't necessarily know for 100% that we're gonna utilize that. If we're not, I mean, because I don't think anybody is, I mean, I personally would like to go with the roadway, period. I think it would be, you know, it'd help with the congestion in that area. But not all commissioners necessarily want to until we maybe have hard numbers. So until we really have that bid out there, we can't come in and say, yes, we're gonna build the road. So, but I don't wanna, you know, limit progress on the water, you know, for the building.
But if you use the tap on 149, okay, get your water the way it's
And we
planned
don't
right
have to
now.
re-tap it later when we lower the water line.
But if we put the road in at any time, any way, we still have to come back in and drop the water line because that's Anderson's business.
well, and the cost will go up then,
Okay.
because you're paying for the 149 junction
Yeah.
in the bid.
Well, that's already in the bid, right?
That's right, that's in the bid. Then we come back and said, okay, we want this roadway. So they said, okay, you're gonna have to drop this, we're just gonna come off the main line. That saves whatever cost that we have in the 149. I don't know how much, it's gonna be.
Yeah, you're putting less pipe in.
That's
I
right,
understand
and
that,
it's,
yeah.
so why they're already there, they're
Yeah.
just gonna dig the water right to our, now, we'd have to go back out, dig it out,
Okay. I
and
see what
run
you're
our
saying.
pipe.
Save costs one way, but I guess what would that connection be? Well, I guess we need to find out what the cost is for the
I'll
connection.
work on that.
to
So-
the 149.
So what, let's just throw a number. Let's say it's $10,000 and that's in the bid, you go to 149. We're gonna have to make $22,000 water reroute. So we're saving 10,000 over here, we're spending 22, but actually it's only be an outset of 12,000. Is that
Well, I don't
right?
think that 22 is gonna stand good if you come back.
No, I'm talking about we did all
talking about
that
savings
right
now.
now.
There's potential savings that we could utilize that savings toward going ahead and dropping it now. when
Oh,
we make that decision.
Yeah, absolutely, but I think that's absolutely, if we do that, if we do it now,
Yeah.
that's a great savings.
Yes.
I can
Because,
see
I
that
mean,
being 40,000.
we may not want to
but
spend the money now, but we may want to in the future, so it may be better to go ahead and have that.
I always say come off a water main that comes right out of
Yeah.
the main water plant. I would rather come out of that before I would want to go down 149. But that's a call.
So can you find out between now and next Wednesday, since you have it on the agenda for next Wednesday, can you find out from Collier
What the difference is in that.
what is,
Surely it's-
how much they have figured in their bid to take the water from 149 to the Justice Center? If it's $10 or $10,000 or whatever,
I can't,
that number we can take off of the 22,000 to help us in our decision making.
I can't.
And that 22,000 included our connection.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so
Yeah, that's
if we can
done
differentiate
deal.
between those two.
But I understand Commissioner's point, if we're not ever gonna do it, then there's no sense spending the money for lowering the water line.
But,
Spit it out.
but it's not something I can advise you now that I know the date. We signed that in July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. We're 7 months into the deal and we're gonna finish up in June.
I understand.
So, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have to finish this roadway
Or revert the properties.
at the same time as the Justice Center is finishing up. Okay, and their projected date is June 6th.
Okay.
So we can sit here and go, well, if we ever are gonna do it, no, there is no ever. We got until the end of, in my view, until the Justice Center's done.
I'm just
done in
making the
June.
Commissioner's point that if we
Absolutely.
were never going to do it, there's no sense to spend the money now.
Absolutely, I'm clear on that. I just wanted to understand that as it says 12 months, it's 12 months from July. And the build-out date is June 6th unless we get more rain dates or
Yeah.
something like that.
I think we need to look at overall numbers in deciding on the road, because we still, in that 12 million, we still have renovation costs, am I correct? and.
So let me go down the list.
The storage building.
Let me go down the
Yes,
list.
Thank you.
We have a $12 million, this is Joe Faust's list, okay?
Okay.
We have a $12 million project. We have a contract for $10,455,000. That leaves a balance of $1,545,000. My number was $295,000 for the Highway 90 entry. That leaves you a balance of $1,250,000. We have $200,000 in the $12 million project for contingency, for unforeseen things. So I added that back into my working balance, which is $1,450,000. We then had a lab testing bill for $45,000, which was a surprise.
Judge, wasn't that contingency part of the 2,400,000 and was that not part of it?
It was
It's in there, yes,
Okay.
but it's money that hasn't,
Can be spent.
so also I put it back into the working amount. So the lab test was $45,000, which leaves $1,405,000. We reduced the landscape portion of the bid and put $90,000 back in to the active number, which now gives us $1,495,000. The storage facility, the maintenance headquarters, storage facility, and the moving, Al and I, in our discussions, said, okay, 400,000 sounds like a good number, and that's what we put in. So that
What was
now,
your number again?
400,000. So the balance now, Commissioner, is $1,095,000. When we talked about this project a year ago, again, talking with Al, what do you think it's going to cost you to renovate the annex and make it available for road and bridge, environmental, and adult probation? And he had a guesstimate of $250,000. Take that away, we're now working with $845,000 balance. The phones, we found out, were not a part of the bid, along with courthouse security. So between phones and courthouse security, we plugged in $358,000 cost, which now leaves us $487,000. I then had a $62,000 cost for the Highway 90 lights. I'm now of the opinion we can take that out once we get some information. Anyway, that brought me down to $425,000 working balance. The proposed new furniture for the facility, I've learned today, was not in the 10,455, but it was a part of the 12 million. That's $411,000. So when you take that away, it leaves us with a working balance of $14,000.
Well, I think the requested, rough estimate of the requested furniture was 150.
Well, that's new information. I mean, this is what I've been working off on my board, the whiteboard in my office. So when Jessie tabulates her numbers and says that it looks like the new buy stuff is 150,000, that's gonna say, okay, of that 411,000 out of the $12 million bucket, we can just about put 250,000 back into the number. But
that's
I'm not there yet.
Okay, because those
So
were
the
estimates.
next,
That's not what it's-
so that gave me a $14,000 working balance. Then when Al brought in the change order on the water line reroute for our approval next Wednesday, or disapproval, is $22,000. That now has me working with an $8,000 deficit. I'm short. But if I take the $62,000 for the Highway 90 lights, now I have a 50, what, 6? No, $54,000 working budget balance. So that's kind of where I'm at with what I've been watching as we've been going down through this. So if indeed, let's say we spent 200,000 on furniture, if we spent 200,000 on furniture, then I'm able to take another 200,000 and add it to this working balance, and we're sitting there with, $250,000.
Well, you got moving expenses, that's
Right.
gonna be a very
Right.
expensive.
Well, I have 400,000, and whether I'm right or wrong, Commissioner, I've talked with Al, and the maintenance headquarters, with the storage portion, plus moving, we put in about $400,000. Now, is that enough? Is that too much or too little? I don't know.
But you and Al put it in there, but that's not how this project began. The project began with the storage building, for construction of new maintenance building, $250,000. Where did the other $150,000 come from?
Because it was part of the $12 million pack. We hadn't had it all dedicated. Do what?
The court didn't put that in there. Who
What?
put it in there?
The 12 million?
The 150 for the $400,000 storage building.
I'll take responsibility for that.
But
And the reason for it,
that's going outside of the court. That's going outside of the committee.
it's not a done deal, but Commissioner, you had elected officials and you had department heads that said, hey, I need some storage room. So what was initially talked about in the maintenance facility, it kept getting expanded and expanded. And right now, we're looking at 60 by 100 to 6,000 square foot. Now, is that final? No. But what are you going to do about storage? Where are you going to put it in? So I'm just using some estimates and guesstimates. I'm not saying this is approved, but I'm thinking about what it's going to cost and the other costs associated with it.
Okay, well, then I guess we need to talk about that.
Well, that's why it's in the workshop agenda.
I mean,
Well,
we
it's
didn't
a work-
set
we got a
true
workshop
numbers, because we
agenda?
were
Oh,
having
this meeting.
estimates.
This meeting here,
That's why
it's
we
part of
put
the
in
agenda.
$12 million, because we had, for one, we had it, 12 million when we originally budgeted for in the fund balance. So we decided, hey, we knew there was gonna be some other stuff we needed, but we never really set, hey, this is what we're gonna do, but we had an idea of things and rough estimates of things that we needed to do. And then, you never know, things might grow, things might shrink, but I think that's kind of why we set that number. Because I think originally it might have been 11, I was like, well, I know we kind of introduced it, well, maybe we'd go ahead and try to make it 12, since that money's in there, just to kind of cover, because to cover the unforeseen things.
Sure, but just
So-
because we have it doesn't mean we have to
No,
spend it.
no, that we have to spend
I
it
mean,
at all,
this is
no, absolutely.
The storage building's almost
Yeah.
doubled in price, and I'm on the committee, and I have, other than just casual conversations with Al and him saying this just keeps growing and growing, to my knowledge, the court has not instructed anybody or anything, neither has the committee, to add any additional storage space, and we haven't even talked about it.
Well, that's a discussion, that's why I think we can discuss and say, well, why the heavy volume is this stuff we have to store here? Can stuff be sent to Austin? I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of historical documents that, can things like that happen to where, we're not oversizing, and that's something we need to, like we're discussing with the furniture, how big does your space really need for outside storage? And then let, Al be in charge of that as well.
Yeah, but that's not Al's call. I mean,
He has the information
he's
for us.
part of it, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah,
department heads,
absolutely.
because you got your county clerk sitting right there, you got your district clerk right there, and when when Al originally drew up his maintenance building, I think he had like 10 square foot cubicles.
10 by 17.
Okay, and the first words out of these elected officials' mouth were, that's not enough space for us. The DA was the same thing when we said, this is what we've drawn in there. Their response was, that's not near enough space for us. So before we build and build wrong, I asked Al, based on their input, how much square footage do we need? Commissioner Cox, this is not a done deal, but at some point, we've got to talk about what we're going to do or what we're not going to do.
Well,
Would,
I agree
with that being said,
Because I'm at my 17th rendering of this thing, and I'm tired of it.
with that being said, in my mind, I'm asking the question, and I've talked to you about facilities and looking at all of Grimes County's facilities. Why are we trying to possibly sell something that could be storage that we already own? We're not spending money on. What's wrong with keeping some of this storage over at Road and Bridge? That's not anything we just have to get rid of because we already own it. We're taking like junk over there and putting it over there, and building bigger barns that cost more money per square foot when we already own the building over here. And just to have to move the magnitude of stuff that I've seen over in this building over to that people may not even need on a regular basis. We're looking at building a bigger barn to store more stuff when we already have something we own, and we're not going out, we're not spending more money.
We'll have to spend some, so I'm guessing here that you're talking where the district clerk and the county clerk and the district attorney's already at, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there, as the maintenance manager, I've kind of, just maintain the building. I haven't improved any of the building.
Mm-hmm.
So I know without a doubt, we would have to have 50,000, that, $50,000 to $75,000 because them are concrete, okay? I'll have to encapsulate that because if you look down the hallway, you can see a crack that I can see daylight. I need to get that repaired. I would have to get the roof sealed up. We'll have some cost. It won't be as great. I don't believe it'll be as great a number over there. I think it's a convenience factor for some people. I did pose this to the judge a couple weeks ago, I guess. I don't know when. My date's not recalling me. And he said it's something that we could look at, but he would prefer that. So
Well,
I have options for the leadership. How you direct me to do it is totally up to you.
Well, I just say we own that already. We're not going into, because there's a lot of uncertainty in most of the stuff we've talked about this morning, the road and now we're on to the storage building and what needs to happen. But some of those costs could be recouped because you have a building there that I think the city of Anderson has talked about. They needed space, maybe leasing something. You got a DA building that's there that could be leased out to help cover some of the costs over there. But I think a general conversation on, do we really need to build bigger barns, and then you've got to add in the moving costs of all of that stuff over there, because I doubt if each department is going to want to go over there. And I mean, I don't know where moving cost is. I can't even imagine.
I haven't. I haven't even got into that. I'm kind of in the trying to get my utilities in, then I could breathe a little bit and take on another project. Like that was. I'm starting to build the schedule of how we want to move, so that when I do start talking to companies, that I have a plan in order for them to look at. But we needed to find out about the furniture cost before I can.
And then I want to bring up one other point. We talked about furniture this morning, and people buying new furniture, and furniture maybe staying or not going. It's got to go somewhere. I mean, at some point, I know we got to look at auctioning stuff once all of this is over. but you got renovations going on over here. That you're gonna have additional space once they move over here in that building that like 911 is in, Road and Bridge is in. That's additional space, and some of the stuff that we've
I would,
I mean,
it
they're not
is
gonna be in
additional
there.
space,
Right.
but it's not long-term space. I would, because that building holds so much water underneath the building, I would say we, if we go that route, and that is gonna be, sure, on a short term, we could
Yeah, I'm
move
talking about on short term.
the extra, furniture over there. Absolutely, Commissioner.
Yeah, I'm
but-
talking about short term.
Yes,
Until we
ma'am.
you're wrapping your head around a lot of logistics that have to happen.
Right.
And like I say, you're gonna have people leaving stuff. Where's that stuff gonna go while you're renovating? You know, so it's a lot of moving parts, unfortunately.
I mean, and to support what you're saying, we also have that property that was being considered for sale possibly with a barn on it on 3090 in that set
Mhm.
for storage.
I mean, we have a lot of facilities that
I do want to make one point though. I mean, is that humidity controlled and everything, that barn in 3090?
No, but if we need to store something short term for an auction, we could certainly do it there.
Oh, well, sure you could. Sure you could.
And you have lots of facilities that I keep saying we need to look at our facilities, because not only that, you have some other things that you're going to be facing in terms of buildings that you own that either need to come down or they need to be improved or improved and come down. You know, you've got a hospital over there that may need improvements, you know, and we whittle away at their money to the point they're only down to 50,000. When I first came in here, it was something like 175,000 in that line item to do things, and some of the saving grace has been Grimes County Hospital. I mean, CHI St. Joseph has taken care of a lot of their needs, but we are responsible for half of those major, what I want to call it, starts with a C, projects. We're responsible for half, and some of that stuff is seeing end of life. And Al and I did a tour yesterday, and because of their insurances on the buildings, we're being blessed in many ways to get new roofing on there. But there are some things that are happening over there we really need to look at as soon as possible, and possibly taking down a building that Al doesn't think could be used for storage, but you know, we haven't looked at it lately. But taking down a building also, you know, it's just that's why I said if we knew or kind of got an oversight of what's happening, that may impact what we're doing now with the Justice Center. If we're just going to be storing stuff like you know, some of your stuff over here in the jail may not have to go way over there with you. I'm not sure, but just sitting down and finding out, you know, because I've been in some of those rooms and seen what store evidence and this type of stuff. If it works for evidence now, it could possibly work for evidence in the future. You know, just leave it there.
I'll pose a question. Could you use that over there and not use over there?
As long as it's climate controlled, I'm fine with it.
Just like it is today?
I can, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I can drive over here to get a file if we have to save $400,000, yeah.
Yeah, and I agree
Well,
with.
you're not saving $400,000, you're saving a portion of that, but you still need a maintenance facility. Oh, I assume we're gonna put a maintenance facility over there.
I hope so.
And along with some other things. So, yes, we may be able to bring the cost back down, but you're not, for us to say, you keep stuff over there, we're gonna save $400,000 is not true to the citizens, and nobody needs to be advocating that.
Okay, I have another comment to that.
Sure.
When you start taking that building, and yes, if it saves money and this is workable, yes, that's fine. But to convenience one department and make it a little bit bigger for you and one department, no. I want equal opportunity.
I-
That's all I.
I understand what you're saying, and I think the people I think I would pose it to the leadership as, who's over there storing now, stays over there storing now. And, I believe, I haven't spoke with you ladies, county officials. I know that, Mr. Wren, the investigator for the DA's office, at one time, he thought he was staying there. The district attorney was staying there. And that's kind of what blew up the building. Because he needs a huge part of that area. I think it's an option I can look at and get some numbers.
To be clear, I want to make sure you didn't say what I thought you said for their convenience, because I heard something else. They will still have storage in this new building. Those departments.
Which building? The Justice Center?
Yes, over the.
Yes.
Okay.
In their office, they have high-density files.
But I'm saying in this storage building you're building, you said you started off giving each body, everybody.
I don't know how, I don't know how we're looking at it now. If we're just going to, from Ms. LaFleur's comment, I know my three biggest right here, and it's really not, it's just a rough sketch, okay? So don't, I'll pass this around.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah, it's my rendering. So I know the three biggest, I know my three biggest people in that storage facility is county clerk, district attorney, and district clerk. I know them are my three biggest people in there. Because, and I'm not, it's because they have high density files to keep all that. So they fit in there. They already, except for county clerk, they don't have high density files over there, but they have their shelves and they have 3 rooms on one side. So in this storage building, that is my 3 big players.
I see.
Everybody else, kind of, including maintenance, we got shrunk. What I can't tell you if it was a want or a need or a convenience. I just knew what we had to draw up.
That's my request.
Well, I don't think it was, okay.
I'll take the hit.
Well, I don't think it was just your request. I think, and I don't think it was just at your request. I think I've had multiple conversations with Ms. LaFleur and Ms. Brzezinski about what they need. What we were trying to utilize files out of our buildings. So to utilize those files, we have to have a certain amount of room. Well, so the drawing was at your request, yes, sir.
All right.
But the need was from the request of the ladies, because they have been working back and forth several times. Now, which high density files am I getting? So I think we did that 3 times, and finally I said, hold on, time out. And I think the DA, same thing. We went down there and measured, because I was completely wrong on how much room they needed with their files. So to say it was requested that I draw it up by you, yes, sir, but there was a lot of other outside factors that led into this. Yeah.
I still have a
Commissioner, you're my
question.
leader. You don't have to raise your hand.
Well, you might not can see I'm gonna say something with the mask on.
Yeah.
But my question was, could we lessen our footprint by leaving some of what we have over here and they still have space over here? You know, you won't have to build as bigger storage.
They'll have space in the Justice Center, and then they'll have their rooms just as it is today over there.
No,
Well,
that's
actually-
not answering my question, Al. My question is, in the storage room, when you drew the initial drawing,
Okay?
you drew it with them having some storage in mind. You didn't have them in the
No.
initial?
No, the initial building, the maintenance building, was not a maintenance storage building.
Okay,
It was a 24 by 24 garage, correct? That was gonna house just my facility.
okay.
There was nothing else with it.
And then
Then-
but let me interject here. And then the conversation went along the line of, okay, when the elected officials saw this, the storage space that they had in the new building, the resounding response was,
Wasn't enough.
wasn't enough. And I told Al, well, we're not gonna go back and redesign this 32,000 square foot building at $250 a square foot. We'll just enlarge the maintenance building because we can probably do that for $50, $75, $100 a square foot.
Right.
So that's when I asked Al to start expanding the 24 by 24 building
Right.
to incorporate the additional storage. Now I turn it back over to y'all.
And
So-
that's when you drew the 10 by 10.
So then we went to a 30 by 40,
Okay,
and I gave a hallway, and everybody got equal amounts. Well, I brought it back, and they
enough.
said,
Wasn't enough.
still not enough.
but you were thinking at that time, we gonna take everything.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
that's where I'm going with
Yes,
that.
ma'am.
But if you were not taking
I
everything,
wouldn't need that much.
you wouldn't need,
Correct.
that's where I'm trying to get to.
But will you need it eventually?
No, we eventually will be paperless. We won't need any of it
Awesome.
someday.
Well,
Not
I
in
would
my
need it.
lifetime.
I would need it, because I have to keep everything.
But you wouldn't need as much
No.
if you still had
Well,
that.
I wouldn't want my stuff in two different locations. I would
Well,
prefer
you're in
it to
two
all be
different
in one
locations
location.
now, right?
It's fine where it's at.
Okay, you're over here and you're over there, right? You got storage in both places?
Yes, yes, but that location there, if we did not have the extra storage building, I would just keep it all over there. I wouldn't put half of it over here and half of it over there.
Well,
I
you,
would just
you're gonna
leave it
take
there.
some of it in your office, right?
Well,
You're
I'm gonna have some in my office, yes, but most of that's what I already have in my office.
Okay,
Yeah.
But the other thing to keep in mind, and I made the point, that he needs to put some amount of repair money over into that facility now to get it back up to where it needs to be.
Right.
That facility is old enough that how much more money is. So I'm kind of a pay me now or pay me later. You remember the TV commercial where the guy's showing you the dirty oil filter, and then the next scene he's got the engine pulled out? Well, I'm kind of a, hey, I'd rather go ahead and do some of those oil changes or put up a storage facility over at that location. One, it's convenient to the offices that are all going to be working over there. And at some point in time where we have this building, it's not going to be worth keeping.
but also, Judge, it's just like the roadway. We started off at one estimate, and it's grown, and it's grown. This is the same thing that's happening with the storage buildings. It keeps growing, you know, so what I'm saying is, we own what we have. Sometimes you gotta put a little bit of money into what you already have and keep it up to par. You're not spending whatever it is, cause this building went
Well,
from 250,000 to now almost 400,000. So you're not spending another 200,000.
I totally agree with
on
what
that
you're
building.
saying, but the problem is, and it'll be the commissioner's court or whoever the leadership here was, over the last 10 years, did not put very much money into maintenance, and that's why we've put so much into maintenance today. Just like on the jail, we've cut and pasted and patched, and we've done a lot of cut and paste and patch throughout this county, and it's okay for the time being, but for the long term, my belief is it's not good expenditure of the funds that we have the responsibility to oversee.
I have a concern with what perhaps the future may bring. I mean, we haven't seen what tax revenue we're gonna have. We don't know really. We're taking on a humongous project for a county that with all of the crises and the caps and all of those things, yeah, it sounds good, but, it may not be feasible. Because at some point, we may end up having to, depending on mandates that come down from this new legislative session, we don't know what we're looking
You
at.
have that every 2 years, Commissioner.
You have that every 2 years, but this is the first year that we've dealt with the caps.
The
you
second
know?
year.
It just took effect this year, I thought, the caps.
No, we maintained the caps. It was under the last tax year that the caps were there.
We were right at 8% the year before, and this year we were able to maintain it, but we don't know if we're gonna be able to maintain it in the future.
I don't understand that comment.
I mean, there are a lot of things that may come out of the new session that we're mandated to do. So if we don't have a good revenue from our ad valorem taxes, services might have, I'm just gonna put it out, services might have to be cut. We don't know what we're looking at. We're taking on a large, we're spending our reserves. Those things, we have to look at reserves and unfunded things.
So what's our cash number for today? Where are we at county-wise for the cash?
I don't know your
I'd have to
auditors
get
over
back
there.
with you on that.
But I hear what you're saying, and I think we ought to go into all of this with open eyes, but it's just like the state. Coming into this budget year, they were saying we're gonna be about 5.4, 5.8 billion under budget, and then when they ran the numbers, even with the COVID and everything, they're less than $1 billion, and now because of the CARES money that they're being reimbursed, it is not finalized, but they're talking, they don't have any issues with making the state's balanced budget. Our sales tax, Mary Ann's not here, but a lot of the revenues that have been coming in have not fallen as we had originally anticipated last March. I'm not saying walk through all of this blindly, but I am saying, Commissioner, that we need to not just look at today and tomorrow. We need to look at 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road.
That's
Even
what I'm
though
talking about.
we're probably going to have a different lineup of leadership, but we still have a responsibility. It's just like we're not going to buy particle boards, particle desks if we got to replace them in 2 years. Put a little bit more money into them to get something that's going to last 10 years. Same thing on the maintenance building. Okay, we can leave the storage over there, but you're not going to leave it over there for 2 or 3 or 4 more years, I don't think, because the maintenance costs are going to say, why didn't we build a bigger storage building at the new Justice Center? So,
Well-
I've got a, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I mean, to follow up on that conversation, I was the benefactor of poor maintenance in my prior life. I had to move my entire office to Navasota because the building we were in wasn't doing what it was supposed to be doing. But to rectify the poor maintenance that had occurred in the county, this court chose to invest $12 million to fix it by building a new facility and by renovating this facility. And personally, I don't want to see my money spent on excess storage buildings and driveways, because I think that leads us right down the road to having issues with maintenance, because I think these overages are things that we could put in the maintenance department to ensure that we don't have future maintenance costs. But right now, these two projects, specifically the storage and the road or driveway, are way above what we ever intended to spend to begin with. And me personally, I don't want to see us do it. I think our money's, you talk about, we can agree to disagree, but I think, in my mind, taxpayer money with what we recognize as building and maintenance issues is better spent on building and maintenance issues than an extra driveway and a little extra storage, when we already have, like the commissioner pointed out, storage buildings anyway.
Can I make a comment since this is being filmed? This is prior to me becoming the maintenance manager, that our maintenance facilities and everything has
We understand that.
failed. I don't
That's good to
want,
point out.
Well, it's,
yeah,
it's happened over a period of time.
right, but not during my time, not during my watch.
And it-
And that's what I want the constituents to know, that
No doubt about it.
have faith in your maintenance director that I'm fixing stuff. This is prior to my leadership.
Al, can I ask a question? So how big is the building now, storage
Go to the
building?
restroom.
Is it still at the 30-foot by 40-foot?
No.
So where are we at now?
60 by 100.
We drew it up at 60 by 100.
Okay, okay.
May I ask a question before I go? What are we paying for a storage building per square foot? I don't want to be.
So we haven't got that far. I've had to stop engineering on the foundation. I'm doing a pre-engineered building, so I'd like to see it be anywhere from 43 to 75 a square foot. But that's also with me doing a lot of the work inside the building.
And that's including the foundation?
That's
Yeah.
Yes.
That's heated and cooled and fire suppression.
You don't need fire suppression.
Okay. Okay, I thought it might be beneficial maintenance wise to have some sort of fire protection. but,
Can I ask a question on
No.
the IT? The building y'all are in now, the maintenance building, is that still gonna be used at all?
I don't know. That would be up for them.
There's no designated use for it at this time.
Okay, so that would also include IT storage as well, being removed from that building?
From what building?
If there's no designated use for the building you're in now, if y'all move out of that, IT storage would be removed from that building as well, correct?
Unless it's needed, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought y'all
I
had
think we're moving
storage in
most
the
of the
new
stuff and
building.
we have, I think there's storage.
We have a small closet for storage of stuff that we need on hand daily. We
Okay,
don't have storage for stuff that we're required to keep, hard drives or machines that we're getting ready to auction off, be it printers or anything else that's broken. We don't have that type of
Well,
room.
I think you are in
There's
that,
storage.
in that storage.
We are, but that's why I'm asking if.
for auction stuff, there is an auction room in the maintenance facility.
Is it necessary, mandatory that you move from that building? to
No,
a new
that's why I'm
storage?
asking if the new building, if we do end up cutting it down, IT wants to know what's gonna happen, where our storage is gonna be. If it's there, then it's there. But Greg also wanted that answer.
No, it is mandatory that IT is gonna move to the new building.
Yeah, but their storage doesn't, where's their storage going? I think that's the question at hand right now. It went from, what'd you say, 10
Well-
by 20?
Well, I don't,
What was your original dimension of the maintenance building?
the original was a 24 by 24, no storage,
Okay.
just the maintenance.
And we're up to 60 by 100.
But now, yes, but on the other hand, when it was a 24 by 24, this building was also 42,000 square foot. Okay?
And $17 million.
And 17, 18, 19, whatever it was, $1 million.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
The Justice Center was.
The Justice Center was 42,000
Yeah, I
square
get that, but
foot.
what does that have to do with your storage facility?
Because we didn't have a storage facility,
Okay.
it was a maintenance department.
Right.
Because there was storage in here.
There was storage in the original footprint?
Yes, there
Up to
was
the
And that's,
42,000
Commissioner-
square feet.
the 42,000 square feet.
I do not recall storage being in the facility itself.
That was in the early parts until we discussed moving the storage outside.
Yeah,
When
so,
we started cutting it down.
So that's when, as the building started cutting down, we were looking for other routes. And then the 24 by 24, began with a 24 by 24, and then we were doing storage buildings, which I found at $26, $29 a square foot. But
Yeah, I
then
think
it
we were
was-
actually doing them, yeah, separate. They were gonna be
Yeah,
separate.
it was
one
gonna
point
just
in time,
go
and
straight
then-
down the line,
Yeah.
and they were 10 by 10s. And then it was, no, that's not enough room. And then we built a building to accomplish that. How we wanna go, that's up to you. I will tell you that maintenance needs a place to be housed. Whether you house me out there or you house me where I'm at. It's just, I don't know the answer to this question.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. Yeah, you need a place to go, and I'm not opposed to the original idea of the 24 by 24 because I think that was going to be also in conjunction with delivery drop-offs and things
Right.
of that nature would
It
be
was.
delivered there. But you know, we have places to store things now, and those facilities can be maintained at a reasonable rate. And I don't see how we come out ahead by spending a bunch of money on storage. If we're gonna do that, we might as well put some more back into the building and do something good. If we're just dead set on spending money.
Oh, Lord.
Well, I think we also had an option of building the foundation to where it may need to be done in the future, you know, the size it may need to be in the future. So you've already got the foundation, and then build just part of the building and expand on it as needed. Because like you said, the maintenance, I mean, the lifespan of some of these buildings is probably, you know, depending on how much money we have to put into it. And that's
Depends,
telling.
I've kind of
Can't really
just floated
see.
along with that building, I haven't
And then when you-
upgraded
You
it, I
know, when
haven't.
the cracks in the walls are,
Right.
you know.
So, I mean, let's just do an average of this building. We know there'll be at least 20 to 25,000 just on roofing. And then with, metal costs going up 20% yesterday, you're looking at, another 35 to 40,000 to metal it, to seal it up. And then, my suggestion would be to tear where Road and Bridge is down, because you take, at any time, I guarantee you right now, there's 6 to 8 inches of water underneath that, wood building that's rotting our floors out. We've already had to replace a couple. So, you're gonna save, $150,000 by not building that building. And you'll have this building, and as Commissioner Walker said, there was some interest, but, you know, we have to put a building behind here for, if we do move away from this idea, and we do build the maintenance storage building, then we'll have to put a garage style system up behind the annex for Cat, because her road sign and storage is over there. We move her over there, we'll have to put a building up behind here. I've already looked into it. It's about 13,000. So it didn't, I truly don't think this building right here, it will not go over budget. I think I get this remodeled and we're happy, and that building out there, for $250,000. I haven't been, shocked yet, but with wood prices and metal prices doing what they're doing right now, and I would not do that. So you're gonna have some maintenance costs down there. You have interest from Anderson, I guess. Is that some way we can make the money? I would I wouldn't say their money is abundant, for rent, but I'm speaking out of turn, I do not know. So.
And you might have somebody else that's interested.
And so you just tell me, you guide me, you're the leadership and I'll do what I need to do. I'm just tired of drawing that building, but I'll draw it again if that's what we need to do. It's hard on my eyes.
If you go to a 60 by 100 square foot building, you're talking 6,000 square feet, and even at $50, is that what you said a while ago? We're talking anywhere from $300,000 to $420,000 from 50 to 70. Yeah. So you're talking about almost close to $500,000 for a storage building.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
It's more than that.
It's more than $500,000.
No, it's more than a storage building. It's also the maintenance building.
Well, we're minus out to 24 by 24. It's
Yeah,
still,
it's,
still.
It would be a more permanent solution. I don't think keeping our books over here is a permanent solution because it's not the ideal
Don't look at me,
place.
look at them.
I'm just looking, that's my opinion,
I'm just the guy with the crayon.
right.
But I hear you saying two different things. Earlier when the question was posed, you were good with it, but now you're saying,
Well, what I'm saying is, if y'all decide not to build the building, then yes, I will leave my books there, I don't have a choice. But if I had a choice, I would rather have them in a better building that's more permanent and more secure, because that will not be monitored, that building will not be monitored at all.
And it'll be 50 foot away from you.
And, well, the new building, yes,
Right.
but this one, you know, like Diane said, if you have to drive over there to get a book, then that's the way it goes, but,
But we don't want y'all, excuse me,
no, go ahead.
and agree with me or not, we don't want y'all to build a 64 by 100 and then give it to somebody else, and we're stuck over here. We would give
well,
up.
the
if-
60 by 100, he's increased y'all space from a 10 by 10 to a 30
I
by
understand.
35.
I understand.
So
but-
I don't, that's already in there.
Yes,
That's
but-
not taken away from you all at all. That's where it got bigger at.
Right,
Yeah,
but,
cause he got 3 different spaces that are 30 by 35.
yes.
So.
They measure what we had to have. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we're not asking for more than what we need.
This is prelim, but this is what.
So that's what, about 30 by
That's fine. That's good.
105, just on one side
But
alone?
my point is, I don't wanna see that
Then that's
built
bigger than that.
And then I split
and then
out.
us not
But you
get
got
to move it.
35.
Well, we definitely have some differences of opinion. And until I think we get some hard costs, we can't make a final decision on some of these issues. So, I mean, I shared with you commissioners where I started at and where I'm at. And whether you like the numbers or not, that's what I'm working with. And I take responsibility for having Al draw and redraw that building to satisfy the need of our elected officials. And Commissioner Cox, you get to make the decision how you want to spend the taxpayers' monies, and I'm going to do the same thing, and then we as a court will make a decision. And some of these things we'll agree on, and some of the things we won't agree on. And I think we all understand that. Jesse?
Based on your number, just wanted to clarify on the furniture, that was just for the furniture, not the installation, not the delivery of it, like you have additional cost in that.
I put
So wanted-
$411,000 for new furniture.
Yes, but you had mentioned 150 and having 250 remaining, so I just wanted to make sure you guys know it's just the furniture piece, not the additional costs that go with it, so, that's it.
Okay.
Have we talked about furniture? Did I miss that?
Yeah,
Okay.
you were blessed not
We're
to be
we're
here.
getting more information and kind of what do you currently have, what are you taking, what the new, what's leaving, what the size, and we're trying to figure out that some departments can use others that won't fit in their office or aren't quite big enough. I think the
Good.
DA mentioned that she had a lawyer that's in a glorified closet. So,
Yeah, it's terrible.
yeah, so.
Commissioner Cox has
Somebody could
agreed-
probably use that desk that's small.
Commissioner Cox has agreed to take the lead on notifying the elected officials and department heads on that. And then we'll set up a workshop, so we'll have a schedule, kind of like how we do budgets. And they're gonna come back and we'll have a blow up of their office area, and they'll show us specifically what they're gonna move in, what they need to buy, and then we'll accumulate a list of what they're gonna have left over.
Okay, so that's handled,
Wow.
so tell me,
Well, we're gonna help, you're gonna help assist us with that
Sure.
information, help us with the information that you obtain when we have those meetings with each department.
absolutely, absolutely. So I guess I just need direction on what you want me to do with the maintenance storage building. Do you want, what numbers do you want me to get?
I'd like to know if we're, unless, let me ask you this, do you think if money was an object, was not an object, does the building, is it of the right size now?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not extraordinarily big?
I think for the requirements that the elected officials
Have
need,
given?
I think it's, the 60 by 100 is
Appropriate.
sufficient.
Okay.
So were those storage rooms 35 or, what was it, 35?
They vary.
So you have 35 wide and 30 deep.
I mean, I don't think that's a fair question. If money were no object, that is the object.
No, but you didn't, I didn't get to finish my,
So you got 35 wide, 30 deep.
Oh, one was 35.
One was a 30.
Okay.
And I measured that. And truly what that is, Commissioner, is just to keep my measurements coming out correctly so I could enter two exits.
Okay, gotcha.
and my statement was, money's no object, go ahead and figure up the cost of what we're trying to do at the 60 by 100. Then we'll have a point to debate or not debate, or stay where we're at and do that later. But when it comes to like pouring the slab, does it make sense to pour a 60, if we think we eventually get to a 60 by 100, do we go ahead and pour the whole slab now? Or do we pour a portion and then make a connection and pour the rest of it later? I don't think so.
I know.
It only makes good construction sense to pour it all now.
I agree. And how,
But that's why I'm asking,
How
do
do you-
you feel like the 60 by 100 is gonna take care of our need for a fairly good period of time?
I think it, and I can only bounce that off the elected officials, and I think that after I get it finalized and present it to them, I think they'll have some answers, but for me, I think what I have drawn up on the storage side, it is sufficient for what I've, for what I've heard.
Okay.
At
If-
what rate of square foot are you gonna do that?
You mean price?
Price wise?
Well, I'm trying to do a pre-engineered building, which drops that considerably down.
Those are all different prices. Money is no object. How are we giving you good guidance? If we say money's no object, so bring us back
Hey,
some.
Commissioner Cox, quit repeating that, because you're taking it out of context
It's
of what
not
I
taking it
said.
out of context, it's exactly what you said, and it is exactly the reason we're in the situation we're in today. We're not giving him guidance, and we're not giving it guidance to anybody.
I've been giving him guidance for a period of 6 months now. That's why we're where we're at on getting the building drawn.
What, yeah, so
I think
what's the
what
decision on that?
I think what this was if, would this building encompass all the needs with all the storage that they will need, you know, like right now? Hopefully the storage is gonna be reduced over a period of time with more digital automation and everything. But I think that's what the question was this size building encompass everything? Do we want to build, you know, because the cost of added cost and the trouble with adding on to a foundation,
Crazy.
you don't want to do. So if we came in, as far as a possibility, if we built the foundation for that, but only built half of the building for now, utilized, like we talked about, utilize storage as long as we could until we can really assess the true cost of what some of this maintenance might cost, which if we analyze that and come back and say, well, no, it's the cost that we would have to put into this, you know, would pay for that additional part of the building, You know, I think that's kind of what the judge was talking about. If we had no money or had all the money we needed, would this fulfill the need right now as far as storage? And then we can always cut back from there and see where we need to be. But I think initial cost, you would charge a lot, cost a lot more money for that foundation if you were to add to that foundation later. And so, but if we could at least put the foundation, because I think that was an option we had talked about too.
We did.
We talked about, hey, what's the max, what's the total storage need versus what we can probably get by with now. And we talked about potentially go ahead and putting in that foundation and then, build the building to the right size. But those metal buildings are easily expandable and add to that later. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that drawing where we're gonna pour the foundation and leave these two facilities off, but then these storage areas weren't big enough for county clerk, district clerk, or the DA.
And I don't disagree with you, what you're saying, I understand that, but we're not giving him, what is the parameter on which is he supposed to go out and get the most expensive bid that he can get, and we're gonna whittle it down from that, or are we gonna hold him to a price range? How much are we willing to spend on the storage building?
Well, that's what I guess we need to decide as Commissioners Court, and then we can come in and say, well, this is the max size. So I personally would suggest that if we build the foundation to whatever size the potential building would end up being.
Well, I can make that
Well, hold on. I gave you a number to work with, which was the $400,000, okay? Now, the question I asked, can we get this done for that? And your response was, I think so. So,
I think we can.
but two costs we need to have. One, what's the full slab gonna be? Two, what's the structure gonna be?
Okay.
Okay?
So, and he knows this. So, if I go to a contractor and say, look, I want a slab, but I also, could you put a cost in there? They're gonna increase the slab just in case they don't get the building. So if you don't mind me doing it a different way, I'm gonna ask them to build the building and then come back and say, all right, can you just pour the slab right now? And it's just a trade. Because if I go in there and say, hey, I need a price on a slab and a price on a building, he's gonna give you a higher price on the slab because he's not sure he's getting the building. If I just give him one lump sum and see where we come out of that at, and if I'm happy with the 400,000, if I can keep it where I think I can keep it, then I bring that back to the court. If I can't, and if I'm over and over and over everything, then I'll price it out separately, if that's okay with the court. Are you in agreement with that?
No, I'm not, because we started this off at $250,000. All I wanna know is the court prepared to spend $400,000 on a storage building? And if so, I wanna vote on it.
I would say potentially, if it's gonna cost us $150,000 to get this building to where it needs to be to store. Right?
Say that one more time.
Did you say it's potential for $150,000?
Yes.
For that building to
Yes.
get to where it can store?
That's a rough estimate.
So if we were at 250, the 150 would make it up to 400,000 for this storage building versus spending the money on the existing storage. We need to weigh all these options. As far as, what we're gonna spend on these buildings that are, the road and bridge and, the DA's office, those are not in very good shape at all. The old jail, I remember going through there and seeing the cracks. It's just, and it's important, files that need to be stored and need to be climate controlled, and, if you've got leaks, that's not a climate control. So if we need to spend that $150,000 on that old building or spend the additional $150,000 on the storage building, I think that's where we need to find out what those numbers are.
Well, 2 points that you just brought up. Earlier, you said some of the needs that we have now are gonna go away, right? Because we're going digital. Okay. I didn't hear him say he was spending that much money over there. What did you
50
say?
to 75.
50 to
Yes, he just said.
75. That's what you
Yeah.
said, because I didn't
50 to
hear 150.
Well, I think the 150 came in, it was a potential savings of 150.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
that's
what that
Road
was,
and
because
bridge
I
building.
thought I heard you say
Okay,
that. I
that's
just
where I
wanted to
got
be
it from.
sure.
Yeah, I'm glad she takes notes.
But keep in mind, like you said, over time, as we digitalize, then it's gonna decrease. You know, so
Well,
to
it
spend
may
it
not-
up front
I don't
and
know
we
if
don't
it'll-
need it later.
Well, I don't know if it'll necessarily decrease. I think it'll not increase.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the, I don't know, what we have to hold on to the district attorneys, district VA stuff and the district clerk stuff for a
I know
long
that.
time as well.
How long do you
I
have
mean,
to
even the old stuff.
hold on your account?
Mine's permanent, I have to keep my stuff forever,
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
whether,
Once you
whether
go
it's
to
digital
digital,
or
then it
not.
would probably, I think it would not increase it,
I was just reminding you what you
I don't know if it's
said.
gonna shrink, well, that's what I, that's
You
all right,
said
that's
it
what I'm
goes
guessing. Yeah, well, the need will decrease, I guess, or not. I mean, that's what I was trying to think, will not increase, where they
So,
shouldn't
Al-
expand anymore.
Do you think that you could find it for less than 400,000? You said, well, I'll go 50 to 70.
No.
A square
Oh,
foot.
yeah, for a square foot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, it's changed so many times. I think I can,
Okay.
but that's with me doing a lot of the work inside.
Oh, that's what
Okay.
you doing, a lot of the work inside.
Yeah, like HVAC, they'll hook up my water and the electrical, but that's me doing a lot of it. Which I'm okay with that because
So turnkey, you can't get in a
I
storage,
don't know about turnkey.
okay, cause,
Maybe.
so what are you talking about in terms of square foot per, at turnkey? What is that number? Is more than what we're talking about now?
Yeah, I would, turnkey, yeah, because I'm building a, well, can you tell me what cost Harry's got on his building? Can anybody give,
I think it was about 540 or something like that.
okay, so there's 540 and I'm bigger than he is.
Yeah, but you're not as eloquent as his is, because he had the
Yeah, office.
offices built in, and he's got more big doors than you had.
It's taller.
And he's got a second floor, and he's got, so no center beams or anything
Yeah.
of that sort.
Well, we'll still have to have, yeah,
Okay.
right, no, I got you.
Well-
Sorry, Ben.
I would say,
I mean, I'm gonna try.
look at it turnkey, because where are you gonna have all this time to do all of the things that you're talking
I
about
don't know, you
doing?
guys keep giving it to me.
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
we
I
don't
would-
want you
I
killed with we've talked about this.
And I just, I've said it before, we're gonna have a new court in here at some point in time. But I think it's important that the decisions that we make today are good decisions for not just today and tomorrow, but for the future. And, you made the comment, your steel cost went up 20% yesterday.
Yeah.
All right? The point is, there's some of these things that we can get done much more cost effectively now than a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 3 years from now. However, if the auditor came in or the treasurer came in and said, whoa, you need to stop, we're in a bad situation, then we need to relook at it. But that has not been the case in my monitoring of the county's assets. I have not seen a drop in our reserves. Is that fair?
That is fair to say.
Okay.
Since when?
Well, no final though, and just, but go ahead, Commissioner.
I'm asking you,
What'd you say?
since when? When are we when did we took the money to build this building and we had, what, 3.5 or 4 months worth of reserves? We're
No.
still at that rate?
Really,
No,
Sid?
as I took that as a whole, like as our revenue didn't come in as for fiscal year 20, our revenue maybe was shortfall in our revenue and our expenses were over expended. As far as, and we're in the middle of preparing for our outside audit, but as far as what I've seen for fiscal year 2020, I haven't noticed a huge drop in that. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the expenses we've made for I haven't seen a huge drop or a huge drop in that area. So, we were expecting the building expenses to come out. We were expecting a drop in that area, but overall on the other, I have not seen that so far. Now, we're not finished. Like I said, we're constantly in the middle of working those. So I will definitely let the court know if something changes in that.
So the question he asked was about the reserves. Are we still where we projected to be in the reserves, or have we dipped below the amount that we initially, once we took this?
As far as I
12.
know right now, we're okay.
Okay.
I will let the court know if it's not that, as far as I know right now, but we are working and ensuring that everything is,
And we're in the middle of the audit. You know,
we're
that's what you're
preparing
saying.
for the audit right now. Yes.
Al, I have a question. Is this storage building, will it be just concrete floor?
Yes.
Okay.
It's slow.
But will it be insulated, like
It'd be
the
spray
walls?
foam.
Okay.
That's the easy part. The air conditioning, all that's the easy part.
I got a question. When we were laying out the floor plan for this building, and you had your district clerk and your county clerk, did they talk about their storage needs at that time when we were building a building?
I wasn't on the building committee until the last 3 months.
Okay, well, that was my question. Where was the storage gonna be prior to him having, he had just a workshop? Where was the storage gonna be at that
It
time?
was in the building itself, and then we shrank it down and talked about adding, we didn't pick a size necessarily, but we talked about putting outside storage.
Okay,
That was even separate from the maintenance building, and then we, during discussions, it says, well, why build two separate ones? Just we can condition one building and make it, a combination of the two.
so we whittled down from a 42,000 square foot building to a currently
33,
32.
32,
31.9,
It sounds better at 32,000.
32,000.
Commissioner Walker, I was in some of those meetings when we were first doing that, and for my office, I was not given the opportunity for storage because it was the understanding that I would be keeping my books over here. And then at some point that changed.
Okay,
So-
that's why I was wondering, where were
Yeah.
these needs initially?
I think the initial two was we try to keep the storage where they were, put more day-to-day additional storage outside of, and keep it outside the building where it's not necessarily daily storage, but once a week type, I think is what we had talked about, that you needed to periodically go get and have that storage, and it's kind of where it started out, relatively small, and then I think it egressed into all of the storage, and then, so I don't know where.
Okay, because some of this stuff we missed by not being in those meetings, that maybe didn't get translated or I didn't hear it, so I won't say you didn't translate it, but
Yeah.
I just wondered what
But that's
happened
kind of
to
where,
that.
it kind of morphed, because, we were still trying to assess the needs versus the wants, and then, and I thought we were kind of set on a 20 by 40 or whatever.
Anybody have any attorney questions?
I think it was that one,
Can we
that
will
one
his
there,
need?
that one that Al
I'm
showed,
not in the new building, I just want you to know.
that one
Oh, yeah.
that Al showed that we had talked about pouring
was
the
a-
slab, and then just building part
It
of
was
the
a
building.
30
and
by
having it
40
expanded.
that we were gonna.
30 by 40.
30 by 40 because we wanted the extra
Yeah.
width, the 6 feet more. And if you use a pre-engineered building, they have set, so my 24 by, I come from my old construction days and I can throw up a 24 by 24 garage in a day and a half and we're done. That was my thinking. I don't need much. I just need that. But then after we got to talking about storage and they come to me and said, hey, what do you think? So then I had to switch it to a 30 by 40 because of the pre-engineered building setting, and now it's just.
But there could be something somewhere in the middle that we can live with for now, or versus, and I think we need to, really evaluate the future cost that it could incur, where you would spend a little more money now and spend less over a period of 5 years.
I might be shocked,
Yeah.
Chad. I might
Yeah.
be shocked on what I can get this building
Yeah,
done.
and until we really know the numbers, it's kind of hard to really you know,
Right.
put that on that as well. I mean, but I think, you know, it would be a good steward of the taxpayer money by looking at that overall future cost now versus what it would cost later.
Well, I agree.
You know, whether it's build it, like I said, build a full foundation, build partial, figure out, I mean, we don't know for sure what this cost might be, I think $75,000. Would it be best to spend an extra 150 on the new building, then spend 75 now, and then we don't
5
know,
years
you know,
down the
we don't
road.
know 5,
Yeah,
10 years to
yeah.
spend another 100 to keep it, or then add to it later at an, you know, a larger cost.
Well,
It's just, I mean, that's kind of where, I guess we get to make those good decisions on.
I can tell you this, the way the building is drawn up, and I hate to say it like this, but, the way the building is drawn up with the DA and the county clerk and the district clerk, I really don't have any way that I can, if I split it down in the middle, it's gonna be a 60 by 50. Well, three departments have 30 by 35 or 30 by 30. Then you just push maintenance out, you know, so it's kind of an all for naught building, the way it's drawn up, if we're going storage over here. So let me work the numbers and see what I can get it for turnkey, and I'll just reach out to some builders that I know.
It is a pay me now or pay me later type of scenario, and we just need to we need to have the data to make the better information.
I'll do my job.
Anybody, anything else?
No.
Okay. We'll go to third item agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion, you adjourn.
Second.
Motion before the court by Commissioner Walker, second by Commissioner Mallett. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Al.
Appreciate your
Thank you
help
for
getting back.
pressing. No, that had to be a drive.
Well, I was there, and my doctor looked at me and said, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Listen, I got a meeting. Is there any way you can see me?" And she said, "You're lucky your numbers are right. Come on in."
You go to the other side of Hearn, or you go to
No.
Gall?
No, I went to Bryan College Station.
Oh, you were at Bryan College. I thought you were going to.
No, Bryan College Station. But
Okay.
my appointment was at 9 o'clock.
Oh, I
and
thought you
usually-
were going all the way to Killeen.
Oh, no.
I mean, not Killeen, what is it?
Temple.
Temple.
No. So I was
wondering
sitting there
how
and
you
she
doing
got
that.
And I'm just glad my numbers where they were. It
Oh,
wouldn't be
good.
that fast.
You gonna live? You gonna live? That's all I wanna know.
Right, yeah, well, yeah, so far.
We're not gonna stress you too hard.
We'll let this building go in.
Thank you, Andrew, for your patience.
You need both of these signed?
Still didn't get an answer.
Huh?
I didn't get an answer. but-
You didn't get an answer?
No, I didn't get an answer.
To
But
what?
I guess it matters if y'all build the building or not, they don't answer.
I gave you an answer. You asked, can I ask a question? I said no, but you went ahead and asked.
I was instructed to ask the questions.
Oh, I didn't, I must not have been in here, Andrew, because I'll let you answer. I don't really remember even hearing you ask
Made
that.
that decision.
So I had to be in the restroom.
Uh-oh.
Are you cold, sweetheart?
Yes, I'm good.
Jesse.
My feet are freezing.
This one has David Paskett's name on.
Oh, that, I didn't catch
Should I
that.
just cross it out?
Yeah,
or-
because I'll white it out and we'll write
Okay.
your name underneath it. I apologize. I reviewed everything else and didn't review the names.
Why don't you give me these back? Just more?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh.
No, those aren't mine.
All right, well, thank you.
I
And I
just
hope you-
kinda-
So the question as far as, here you go.
Hell, you need my big hand.
Ma'am?
You need my big hand.
Oh, no, we got a sprayer that's
So
doing
our,
a gallon.
our service would have dropped, obviously, by the amount that we budgeted from fund balance for the justice center.
One day I made my own self sick.
But I thought the question was, did it
That's
drop
funny because when
like
I got to the
enormously
DA today,
in
this guy had
addition to
like
that?
a holster.
That's Yeah, so that's
Because
why I
Look at
declared.
it.
We were saying we could take the 12 million and we probably have
No, without
4
being
plus
rude, going,
months of operating
it
capital.
was
And
disinfectant.
we haven't dropped below that, have we?
No.
Not
and
even-
And some
I'm
people
gonna
are
go back
scared,
and-
scared.
But
Yes.
I mean,
I was hoping
No,
you
no,
wasn't
it's
gonna be here today, cause I said, oh, yeah, Al's not gonna be here.
I hustled. Hey, can you come to Commissioner's Court and take this easel back? All right. They emailed me 3 or 4 times yesterday about it, and I think, I just told them to give me some numbers and let me look at it.
Which one?
The hospital.
Oh, okay, yeah, I